I'm Kev.
And I'm Steve.
And we're from the internet.
Want to get your question answered on a future episode of We're From The Internet? Head over to we'refromtheinternet.com/question, tweet your questions at KevinSteve, email kevinsteve@gmail.com, or post them at facebook.com/KevinSteve, or even leave them in the comments for this episode.
How do you make a website?
Oh, are you kidding me? I don't want to tell people how to make a website. You go to kevinchapman.co.uk, you click on the Contact Me button, and I'll give you a quote for making one for you. Does that sound reasonable?
That sounds reasonable. They're not too hard to make. I remember starting our degree and being told to open Notepad and just
Notepad++.
Well, it was Notepad first, and it was just like, what? This doesn't make any sense. How can that possibly be? And then they made us do all that and did the Hello World website, where it just says Hello World on a web page, and went from there. And
have you ever made a website that way since?
I've used Notepad++ since then.
Really? For what? On an actual useful website?
See, I've never really made one that goes on the internet full time, really. You make all our sites because you don't let me touch stuff.
And you know how I make them?
WordPress.
Yeah, I go on WordPress, I download a WordPress theme, I'll occasionally tweak some of the HTML to make it work the way I want it to, which I guess that is messing around in the code. I've never made a proper website using Dreamweaver or anything like that because I don't have the graphic ability to do that. So.
See, Dreamweaver's cheating. They're just silly. They don't look right. They always look a bit crap. It annoys me that schools insist on using things like Dreamweaver, or if they're really foolish, they use Serif.
Yeah, my school uses Serif.
Yeah, my old school did, and I just thought, what a bunch of numpties.
We've got Serif and the Adobe Suite, but for some reason everyone's taught Serif, and I don't get it. It's just drag and drop, which is bizarre.
And really, really dumb, because it's like, you're never going to go out into the real world and make a site using that. If they're going to be lazy, they might as well just teach WordPress. But using Serif.
I would say...
I'm not saying WordPress is lazy.
No, I would say WordPress would make a lot of sense, because we've got dozens of websites between us probably by now, and for multiple different purposes. A lot of people think that WordPress is just for blogging, but you can do any kind of website
plugins,
using WordPress.
I have been learning on my site, sheepdogrights.com.
Never heard of it.
I like having a little play around with that now and again. I mean, just being able to automatically do a tweet when I've said something, and just all the things like that you've taught me about. It's just good. I should really sit and have a play around with it and just see what other gubbins I can throw into it. But you've made our Mature Gamer podcast website look really cool, and
We're from the internet.com looks exactly the same as maturegamerpodcast.com.
It's good. And geekcultureradio.com looks really cool from what Jay and you did.
KevinChapman.co.uk looks just like a Tumblr site, because I thought I want a Tumblr site, but didn't want KevinChapman.tumblr, so I just made one look like Tumblr, and it's basically Tumblr, but on my own site, done with WordPress. WordPress can do everything. You don't need to learn HTML or PHP. You don't need to learn any of this stuff. It's free to use as well
for anyone who thinks this is an advert. It's all free.
We should do adverts like this. So imagine if we dropped in subtle, entire 10-minute long
legally
adverts.
Have to say now, don't you?
Do you?
Yeah, you're not allowed anymore. The rules are you've got to be like, this is an advert.
Well, we could just put that in the jingle or something.
I think you have to write it explicitly somewhere before they click it. This episode's write-up contains an advert for...
I'm not sure if that's the case.
Zanussi tumble dryers.
When I'm watching the telly, I don't get specifically told I'm watching an advert when the adverts come on.
You don't, do you?
So
web rules.
For all this lot now, this could be a 10-minute advert for WordPress. But if you want to make a website, seriously, go on YouTube, Google WordPress, watch a few videos on how to set up WordPress, then go to WordPress.org. That's the free one, isn't it? WordPress.com is all hosted on WordPress, but WordPress.org, you can download the software and upload it onto any website, or if you go to pretty much any decent web host, they'll even install WordPress for you.
Yeah,
and then it's just a case of logging in, sticking your theme on there, sticking a few plugins on, and you can have a decent looking website within 10 minutes.
A mate of mine wanted to start. He said, "I want to start a blog," and I was like, "Well, buy your own web domain." He's like, "No, I just want a blog. I'm just going to go on a blog site and set one up." And I was like, "Well, why don't you just have a web domain? They're only like £1. Set one up, and then all you need to do is automatically install. You just click install WordPress, and then your WordPress is called whatever your site's called. So I can't remember what he called it, like the Biggs picture, I think it was, because his surname is Biggs, and He wants to write about films and stuff. So
you should have called it the Biggs issue. How was that the one he went for?
We talked about the Biggs issue, but that was already in use. But the Biggs picture, I think it's the Biggs Picture UK actually, because someone else already had the Biggs picture. And so it took me the longest part of setting that up was I had to ring up the person who I bought it with and say that they'd basically not given me what I clicked to buy. It was like I clicked to buy the domain and the hosting for £1, and they'd basically given me half of it and not set up the other half. And I was like, well, go have a look at your deal, and I did it. But once I'd got that little bump out of the way, the whole thing was just set up in 5 minutes, and he had a site for £1, and he now sits there. He's got a year to just get into it, and if he doesn't, he doesn't have to renew it at the end of the year, does he? But websites are easy to set up now.
Yeah, and you can even go to somewhere like Fiverr.com now, and they'll set it up. You can pay someone $5, which is £3, and they'll set one up for you. If you really can't be bothered to do it yourself, you can pay someone a $5 to set it up for you. If you don't know how to do yourself a logo or a header to make it look any good, go on there, throw a $5 at someone, they'll make that for you. You can just plug it into whatever template you've got. Every website that we've got now is probably something I've thrown together in less than an hour, and the bit that actually takes the time is writing the content for it. Actually setting up the structure for the website is no time at all now. We should set this up as a business. Are we allowed to do this as an advert?
No.
When we're finished doing it,
we'd hate it as a business.
Yeah, when we're finished,
when
we're finished doing our sausage subscription business from yesterday, we'll have Steve makes websites for people, and then we split the money business. That sounds quite reasonable.
I don't fancy that.
Well, it sounds like you've already got experience of doing it for other people. I've only ever done it for us.
But the one I did, he wanted it to be bright orange because he's colourblind and he can only see bright orange.
That doesn't mean he's is his target audience only colourblind people?
No, but he sort of said, I only see bright orange, so I'd like to have a bright orange site just so I can appreciate how it looks. So when I grabbed the only bright orange theme I could see, and then I got a tweet saying, please take that down from somebody else. It was just like, it looks like the sun. I don't know whether he's actually used it. I think he put up 2 articles. He needs to get in the habit. I keep telling him, force himself to do 1 or 2 a day.
I hope it's not been filled up with porn or something now, and we've just sent all our listeners to go and look at this perverted website that someone's hacked into and done whatever the heck they please.
He only sent it up a couple of weeks back, so it'd be pretty unlikely.
One thing I would say when using WordPress, make sure that you get your password set up carefully, because if not, if your password is easy to guess, the thing that happened to me and him a few years ago will happen to you. And on one of our old websites, we got taken over by some Afghanistan militants.
Yeah, something like that, wasn't it? It was like, yeah, it was just Arabic.
There was pictures of beheadings on there,
yeah, it was
and
very scary.
Lots of odd music playing when you went on the website. And the only way we could get that off was to contact our web host to get it taken down, because they'd gone into WordPress, changed our password, uploaded all this nonsense, and for about a week, because we don't handle these things efficiently in any way, it probably could have been down within an hour, but for about a week, anyone who went to our website, was it the Best Thing From website, maybe?
I can't remember now, that or Kevin Steve.
Yeah, they just got that, and for a week or so there.
I remember fearing we'd upset like the Islamic State or something. I was so, when I first saw it, I was like, oh dear God. What have we done? Or what has Kev done to our site? He's just suddenly switched. He's like one of these, what they call, where you're like a silent, they're waiting to switch your head on with some signal and then you suddenly go mad.
I don't know that was what happened. Perhaps I did do it. Perhaps that is what happened.
Maybe that's what happened.
If you notice it happened to any of our other websites at any point, then you'll know that I've got some kind of keyword in my head that whenever I hear it, I just go and mess up everything that we've worked so hard to build up and achieve over previous years.
Isn't that phrase usually don't do that, Kev? Please don't miss it.
Want to get every episode of We're From The Internet at least a day earlier than the iTunes and Stitcher folk? Head over to we'refromtheinternet.com/pledge to support us on Patreon, and as well as early access, we'll throw in an exclusive weekly show just for our patrons too.